Fight!
Number 5, Joel Birch versus Matty Mullins. On Warped Tour 2013, Memphis Mayfire frontman Matty Mullins took to the mic and addressed the crowd about self-respect. Mullins went on to offend the female demographic by commenting on the way they dress on Warped Tour, comparing them to sluts, hinting at his self-respect message. Fans were offended, fellow musicians were appalled. It was a mess. Many spoke out on the matter, such as Dan Campbell of the Wonder Years,
women are not sluts and women are not bitches.
And Tyler Carter of Issues, who would later go on to state that the track Personality Cult is aimed at Mullins.
Fuck the voice of a generation. I just wanna be who I am.
But none were quite as vocal about it as the Amity Affliction vocalist Joel Birch, who once heard the appalling comments, took to the stage to state the rest of the Memphis Mayfire guys are cool, but Matty Mullins can get the fuck off Warped. Birch has since apologized for his unprofessional actions. The heat would continue online when Mullins would appear on the Bad Christian podcast to state it was a bad choice of words, but had nothing but good intentions.
I had good intentions. I think that my intentions were of the spirit, but my words were of the flesh. Does that make sense?
Mullins also added that he had never heard of the Amity Affliction until that year's Warped run.
I smell bullshit.
Birch would respond with numerous tweets, and the situation soon simmered down after a year. But the fact that Mullins never even apologized for his words, instead excusing them, still rubs the Amity Affliction and a lot of people the wrong way to this day. Number 4, Woe Is Me versus Issues. This wasn't a beef, this was most definitely a war. In the heat of all the lineup changes within Woe Is Me in 2011 leading into 2012, which also led to the formation of their arch nemesis, Issues. We, the fans, got quite the treat as we all sat back and listened to each band take shot after shot after shot at each other with the releases of their respective albums, Genesis and Black Diamonds. We sorta got the impression that every song was about how much they despised one another. Well, maybe because the majority of them were, with Issues hinting at cocaine abuse and dissing Woe's album altogether.
If you don't like the lyrics, take a listen to Genesis. If you call records like cocaine, you can still have a fucking name.
And Doriano fired back with a line about one-liners and, something about a dick in a certain individual's throat. It goes on and on. These two albums might be the best two albums to listen to back to back. A real-life hatred right into your ears. Number 3, Ronnie Radke versus Craig Mabbitt.
I am aware that I am an asshole. I really don't care.
These two have had their fair share of conflicts with numerous other musicians. For example, Ronnie Radke versus I See Stars, and Craig versus the Money Brothers.
Now you're just a memory. In my past is where you'll stay.
But none were quite as heated and entertaining than when Ronnie Radke and Mabbitt went head-to-head back in 2009. What began with Mabbitt claiming Radke's spot on the throne, aka Escape the Fate vocalist, resulted in numerous in-person altercations as well as even death threats. Radke would then go on to release Falling in Reverse's debut full-length The Drug in Me Is You in 2011, which bluntly took many shots at Mabbitt and the rest of the guys in Escape the Fate.
This one is mine.
The two settled their differences and realized it would be smarter to coexist in 2014 with the announcement of the Bury the Hatchet tour. The two fan bases are just about the exact same thing, so, you know, why the hell not? Number 2, Franz versus Buddy Nielsen. It's pretty easy to let Attila frontman Chris Franzek get under your skin. It's a wonder why there hasn't been way more confrontations with him. All it took for him to set Census Fail vocalist Buddy Nielsen over the edge was the use of the word faggot used over and over and over again in the track Proving Grounds. A massive Twitter battle pursued, which boiled over into that year's Warped Tour, where tweets were still being exchanged between the two, even leading to a meeting with Kevin Lyman himself regarding the issue. Buddy even allegedly stood outside Franz's tour bus looking for a fight, but Franz was a no-show. Years passed, and Attila released a track called Call Out 2, which directly called out Buddy, calling him a fucking coward.
Fuck a Buddy Nielsen! Fuck a stupid coward!
Buddy Nielsen stated the following in a podcast.
No one had my back with an Attila, dude. Dude's a punk. Like, that dude's a problem. That dude's a bully. That dude...
Yeah, well, I mean...
That dude's one of those dudes that needs to get punched in the face. Like, and I'm not a violent person, but if you are a person who is queer and you get called a faggot, you have every fucking right to knock that person in the face. I don't like non-violent, like, passive queer movement.
The two never reconciled their differences. A word is a word. Franz will be Franz. Enough said. Number 1. Frankie Palmieri versus Vincent Bennett.
It makes you feel bad!
Word of advice, if you're just starting out, don't steal another band's sound. What does that even mean? Apparently it means something to Acacia Strain vocalist Vincent Bennett, who kicked off one of the hottest feuds in metal history. Coming down to writing songs about each other such as Skynet, and yes, of course, R2 Deep Throat. The battle boiled over so much that it actually came to blows between the two. Frankie has stated he has a scar on his nipple from the fight. How that happened is anyone's guess. If you ask either Vince or Frankie about the beef today, they'll say it's all in the past and they have moved on. Now let's get a collab.